I was almost late for work, so I had to call a special car. As a result, I called my boss. Under the starry sky roof of a Rolls-Royce. We stared at each other. He raised an eyebrow and asked me, "Are you almost late?" Me. Later. He deducted my salary. I gave him a bad review. I still haven't figured out how I got involved with Ryan. It seems to be simply because of a certain afternoon in elementary school. He pulled my hair. I gave him a big slap. This wonderful slap has tied me to the son of the boss of a listed company in an ambiguous relationship for half my life. In elementary school, when I was his desk mate, I bent down to tie my shoelaces. He pressed on the back of my neck and wouldn't let me get up. In junior high school, we were in the same class. I said it was very windy outside. He asked the classmates sitting by the window to open all the windows. In high school, I thought I had finally gotten rid of him. As a result, on the first day of school, he sat in the seat behind me. Thought I went to a private high school? He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. Before he fully matured, he was full of youthful vigor. Sorry. I decided to be admitted to college by myself. Didn't you get your quota to enter? No. One middle school through connections? This person. I watched him evolve from being avoided by everyone in junior high school to being popular everywhere now. On the one hand, he is really handsome. On the other hand, the classmates finally realized that having money is really good. At that age when there was a little bit of comparison psychology. On his birthday, he gave each person in our class a PSB. He told us a truth very early on. Although all roads lead to Rome, some people are born in Rome. In high school, Ryan copied all my homework, and he still got the first place every year. I suddenly realized that it's not that this guy is so talented, but that this dog likes to do questions by himself in the middle of the night. So you see, most of his friends are not good choices for making friends. During the day, he laughs and jokes with his bad friends and doesn't study hard. At night, he desperately does practice questions. I even saw this person online on the vocabulary memorization app several times at 3 or 4 in the morning. He just competes hard. He just competes hard. Obviously, he didn't know anything in junior high school. But in high school, he caught up completely. I asked him the reason. He squinted and smiled at me. "You are so good at grades. Don't I have to work hard to be admitted to the same university as you?" He is really like a haunting spirit. The grudge from that slap has to be pursued all the way to college. But later, we didn't go to the same university. Because he went abroad, which is the standard way for a rich second generation to go to college. I thought we would go our separate ways from then on, each having our own splendid lives. But one day, he called me at 3 in the morning. I told him, "Brother, look at the time difference between us." He said, "Oh." Told me to look out of the window. I thought it would be something like, "Look at the land I conquered for you." As a result, a helicopter was hovering over the big playground of our school. It caused a gust of strange wind, attracting students from several dormitory areas to look out. I finally understood what the noisy background sound in his microphone was. It was the propeller of the helicopter. Under the moonlight, his voice was low and hoarse. He said to me, "I miss you." Fies. Does he miss me? What he misses is the midnight snack wine and pot stickers in the alley at the school gate of our school. There is no such delicious thing in America. As he ate crazily, he sighed. And I fell into the process of constantly shattering and putting together my 3 views. This person, in the United States, 14,000 kilometers away from us, wanted to eat wontons. So, he took a private plane and then changed to a helicopter and flew directly over. Ah. Right. I was originally going to bring this to you when I went home this time. Since I'm here today, I'll give it to you first. Under the warm yellow light of the night market, he took out a small box from his pants pocket. Inside was a necklace. In fact, Ryan had given me countless gifts before. Snacks, stationery, test papers, books. But he had never given me this kind of adult gift. He said, "Happy birthday. Yo-yo." So I thought, he didn't come just to eat this bowl of wontons. Because that day was also my 18th birthday. 6. When I was about to find a job after graduation, I excluded Ryan's company first. Even though he warmly invited me and said he would definitely give me favorable treatment. But to be honest, no one in their right mind would want him to be my boss. So I even interviewed a company that was somewhat hostile to him and said to him triumphantly that we would be opponents from now on. "Please give me your advice." He chuckled on the phone, said I was really cute. I didn't understand what he meant at that time. Until a week later when I started working. I had just reported for duty and hadn't officially started working yet when I received a notice. My new company was acquired. New boss, Ryan. 7. I was late for work and encountered the boss when taking a taxi. The perfect attendance award is gone. Would you think that growing up in the same class as the son of such a wealthy person? I am also very rich. In fact, I am a poor devil. At the age of 18, my father drove me out of the house. If Ryan has one ability that can completely overwhelm me, it must be his money power. Especially when he told me with a smile that my full attendance bonus was gone. No. General Zhang. Let's talk nicely. It's especially at the end of the month. After working hard to maintain a whole month without being late, I am naturally not reconciled. I can do anything you ask me to do. He raised his eyebrow, and there was much more interest in his eyes. The man leaned on the steering wheel of Rolls-Royce, under the starry sky roof. His smile was intertwined with banter. "Cook for me." "How about it? 10 Are all rich people sick?" I asked Ryan to be mentally prepared. "I seldom cook." He nodded. General Zhang said that he would pay for whatever I buy. So I took all kinds of Australian lobsters and king crabs. He leaned on his chin with the shopping cart beside him and watched me spend his money with a lazy smile. Forget it. I feel that even if the whole supermarket is emptied, it doesn't matter much to him. After shopping in the fresh food area, I politely asked him if there was anything he needed. He was looking at his phone, and absentmindedly replied to me, "Well, there's something missing." "What's missing?" I didn't understand what he meant. Only then did he look up at me and smile incredibly. Until we stood in a certain special area. He took 2 boxes and threw them into the shopping cart. I laughed. "You've never had a girlfriend. What do you want this for?" He raised his eyebrow slightly. "Oh? How do you know I don't have a girlfriend?" I understand this person too well. We have known each other for more than 10 years. If he really had some earth-shattering love history, could he hide it from me? I don't believe it. The truth is that at the age of 27, he is still a virgin. "If you have a girlfriend, I'll eat these 2 boxes." "Really?" He smiled. And his words ended with a rising tone. 11 Yang Chun noodles with Australian rock lobsters. Probably only someone as imaginative as me can make this. When I brought the noodles to the table, he had already asked someone to carry up 2 cases of beer. "Do you think I can drink a lot?" I stared at him. "Oh?" He sat at the table. The beer opener was turning into a flower in his hand. "Can't you even drink more than me who drinks for unwind?" He provoked me, knowing that I would fall for it. Although it was a very simple truth. I still snatched the opener and opened a bottle. The amber liquid poured into the bottom of the cup. So, Yangchen noodles with Australian rock lobsters became side dishes for drinking. We drank from the afterglow of the sunset to the dark night of the starry plain. Until my vision began to become blurred and my head couldn't stop feeling dizzy. The beer bottle suddenly knocked on the table. I grabbed the collar at the back of the neck of the person opposite. "No, didn't you say you could drink? Can you still drink?" He had already slumped on the table. Only his reddened earlobes were exposed. His collar was somehow loosened. I stared at his collarbone and my gaze went all the way down. In a daze, he suddenly grabbed my wrist. Ryan's eyes are always very clear and bright. How can I describe this person? He is like a fox, but is both good and bad. There is always some calculation going on in his head. He is very scheming. Now. He is a drunk fox. His eyes were looking straight at me. The hand holding my wrist was very tight. When he spoke, there was a slight hoarse nasal sound. Yo. What should I do with you? What? I leaned closer to him. I really didn't understand what he meant. In fact, there was still some distance between us. But he suddenly leaned closer to me. The scorching breath hit my auricle. I always felt that if we were a little closer, my heart beat hard. Obviously he provoked me. Obviously he looked confident. But he got drunk before me. I gave him a hand. The person beside me simply put all his weight on me. His eyes were drooping. At this moment, his breath was all spraying on my neck. He was still chuckling. Jong. She. I gritted my teeth and slowly moved him towards the door. I'll call your driver. I barely found his phone from his pocket. The unlock password is my birthday. When he was young, he once explained why he set my birthday as his lock screen password. Just to prevent his mother from guessing the password. Unexpectedly, he has been using it for 4 or 5 years. His phone interface is very simple. And the address book is also easy to find. I have no intention of prying into his privacy. But a message popped in and broke into my eyes unexpectedly. Little ROU, tomorrow night is still roommate 106. Waiting for you 12. I have been thinking for 2 days. Who is that little ROU? What does roommate 106 mean? Waiting for you? Ryan. Does he really have a girlfriend? I squatted at the door of his office. Finally, I couldn't help but pull a secretary, who had just come out of his office. How is General Zhang? The secretary was confused by my question. So I got close to her and quietly asked her. Do you know anything about General Jiang's personal emotional life? The secretary was startled by me and quickly shook her head and avoided me as if I were the plague. I was a little frustrated and also regretted my impulsiveness just now. But I always can't connect Ryan with the fact that he has a girlfriend. So I called and asked all our mutual friends. The answers I got were all that they didn't know he had a partner. My best friend said with a smile. Why didn't I ask Ryan himself? I sighed into the phone. If he really has a girlfriend, wasn't it very embarrassing that I said so firmly that he was a lifelong single in the supermarket that day? Fortunately, in a few days, I will know whether he has a girlfriend or not. Because little ROU herself came to me in person. 13. It was a very sunny afternoon. The company's benefits have become very good since Ryan came. I found a bag of high-grade black tea in the pantry. As the silver spoon stirred, a flush rose. A person suddenly appeared in front of me. Sunglasses, mask, and baseball cap. All covered tightly. It scared me a lot. Are you Yo-Yo? I could tell it was a woman's voice. I always felt somewhat familiar. She had a faint fragrance on her body, which was easy to win people's favor. I involuntarily answered her. She laughed and took off her sunglasses. How did I feel at that time? Probably. Once my best friend and I were shopping in the mall, and happened to come across a fan meeting of a female star. The crowd was bustling. With just a glance from the female star, we were so amazed that we couldn't take our eyes off her. And the person in front of me, just her eyes are 10,000 times more beautiful than hers. As if being looked at by her, my mind was already blank. And at that moment, I finally remembered why I felt she was familiar. But before I could call out her name, she had already covered my mouth first. Shh. I came here secretly. My hand was shaking. You know where Ryan is, right? He is my boyfriend. The tea in the cup was almost spilled by me. Because the person in front of me, the one who claimed to be Ryan's girlfriend, is a popular female star in the entertainment circle. The kind that has hundreds of thousands of rate posts and comments on Weibo. A person who can only be seen on TV usually is now standing in front of me obediently and showing me a friendly smile. I often hear Ryan mention you. You are his little childhood sweetheart, right? The woman came closer to me. Only then did I realize that she had forced me into a relatively dark corner of the pantry. My name is Zoe. You probably have heard of my stage name. Well, I came today mainly to tell you. Can you stay away from Ryan? I was stunned on the spot. She came specially just to tell me to stay away from Ryan? Is this a demonstration? A warning? A declaration of sovereignty? So, is she really with Ryan? Does she like Ryan? Such a person who seems to exist only in the clouds, and is so far away from the lives of ordinary people. She actually likes Ryan? I always felt my heart beat hard, surrounded by a sense of unreality. I froze on the spot. The woman chuckled. You seem to have something to say? I took a breath. She seemed very satisfied with my nervous expression. I stared at her and carefully chose my words. Can I have your autographed photo? 14. I lay on the bed and looked at that photo over and over several times. Most celebrities' signatures are elegant. And Zoe's is too. I still can't believe that Ryan has a girlfriend. Moreover, he is even in a relationship with a female star. In fact, it's not strange. Ryan is originally from the upper class. He may be the one pursued by those female stars. But obviously, just a few days ago, he and I were still sitting at the table in this living room drinking. Suddenly, I felt an inexplicable sense of loss. I originally thought that Ryan was really standing by my side. In fact, he wasn't. He even secretly had a girlfriend behind my back. Ironically, I always thought he was a lifelong single. It turns out that the clown who has been singing a one-man show alone on the stage all along is myself. I almost swiped through the screen of my phone, but I still didn't send him a text message. Although I typed a lot of words, I deleted them all. I find it very strange. What's so hard to say? It's just words like, you didn't even tell me you have a girlfriend. But I just can't type it out. Ryan is in a relationship behind my back. It's extremely annoying. I stared at the unfinished wine last time. As if possessed. I took a bottle and walked out of the house. 15. There are wild dogs barking on the street. Sporadic streetlights ignite the road ahead. My heart is pounding. I don't know where this excitement comes from. And I don't know how to eliminate it. In the park in front of my house, there are no more children playing. I sit alone on the swing. The pale moon is trapped in the night sky. Until a pair of black leather shoes appear in my field of vision. I looked up and stared in a daze at the person standing in front of me with his hands in the pockets of his windbreaker. To be honest, it's really like seeing a ghost today. Meeting two celebrities in a row. 16. In a barely open coffee shop. I tried to warm myself by the cup wall. It's actually iced Americano. Damn. The person opposite is wearing glasses with gold wire frames. His eyebrows and eyes are sharp. He leans against the back of the chair in a slightly comfortable posture. His standard peach blossom eyes glance over me lightly. Be my girlfriend, he said. I almost choked to death on iced Americano. A person I met for the first time inexplicably confessed to me? What kind of weird luck is this? And this person is still a celebrity. A well-known director-investor. I've seen him in magazines. He took up a whole big page. His name is Vincent. The man seemed dissatisfied with my constant coughing. Frowning. He waited until I finished coughing before handing me a card. 1 million. My throat tightened instantly, and I couldn't even make a sound. There is 1 million in the card. Be my girlfriend. It won't be for long. At most a year. Don't worry. I won't want you for your whole life. He raised his eyebrow and snorted softly. Not satisfied? I quickly pulled back my already frozen brain. But before I could organize my words to agree, he threw another card on the table. 3 million. Then, as if it wasn't enough, he threw another one. 5 million. 17. As I said, I am very poor. Rent, utilities, daily necessities, and daily expenses have almost drained every little bit of money I earn. People's ideals are always far away. So is being noble. Now there is such a person standing in front of me and telling me, yo, I'll give you money that you can turn for a very long time on your own. Although the other person is a stranger. A strange celebrity. I have to say that the temptation is very great. Obviously. There is almost no possibility of refusal. I took a deep breath and pushed the card back to him. Forget it. I don't want it. He raised his eyebrow. Oh? I don't think refusal is a good choice for you. The coffee in this store is probably not bad. But I still haven't tasted anything until now. When I stood up, he looked up at me. Well, I just don't want to be your girlfriend. The person in front of me was shocked for a moment. And then smiled. Really? Miss Chen? You are so naive. Say whatever you want. I didn't look at him anymore. I grabbed my bag and was about to leave. Until the person behind me was talking to himself. Which made me stop in my tracks. 3 months ago, I had a fight with my girlfriend. I don't know how his topic turned to his girlfriend. But people are naturally inclined to gossip. Moreover, it's the gossip of a big director. He still spoke unhurriedly. Now she is with another man. That person. You also know. Would you be willing to cooperate with me and act in a play? This won't cause you any loss. Besides, I know that you need money. Miss Chen, don't you? Miss Chen, this deal is very cost-effective. You just need to stand by my side. You don't have to do anything. 5 million. I turned around. Leaning forward, I stared into his eyes. Your ex-girlfriend is Zoe. Her current one is Ryan. Right? He smiled. And his eyes were like peach blossoms blooming. Exactly. I nodded and returned to his seat. I clenched the 3 cards. You have to give me a proof that the money in these 3 cards is your active gift. He curved his thin lips and leaned back on the chair in an extremely comfortable posture. I will take care of it. Miss Chen. You can rest assured completely. 18. I don't understand what's wrong with me. As long as it's related to Ryan, I will become impulsive. I have always had a hard time finding Ryan's position in my heart. I regard him as a very important person. A very good friend. A best friend. And when my best friend has a girlfriend, I am actually in a turmoil. Would Guan Yu be sad because Shang Fei has a girlfriend? I held my head and seriously thought about this question. I even asked this question to my best friend. She replied to me, if you are not a fish, how can you know the happiness of fish? If you are not Shang Fei, how can you know if Fei Fei is emo or not? What on earth are these? I turned off the phone screen with a black face and remembered that it had been 13 days since I last interacted with Ryan. As a qualified girlfriend, Vincent invited me out for dinner today. He also reminded me that the restaurant I go to is particular and remember to wear high heels. I rarely wear high heels. In my memory, the last time I wore them can be traced back to the graduation party at school. In my sophomore year, I once attended an upper-class event with Ryan. That day, he drove a supercar to the downstairs of my dormitory and told me there was delicious food and asked if I wanted to come. How would I know that it was a gathering of rich kids? Specially for expanding future business connections. I couldn't even stand steadily in high heels and didn't dare to eat freely from the buffet. I even sprained my foot. In the end, he carried me back to the dormitory on his back. Now thinking about it, I probably made a lot of embarrassments in front of him. In the rather stylish restaurant, the soothing and low-pitched tone of the cello spreads. The 4 of us didn't say a word. I never thought that Vincent would do things so sharply. He directly invited the 2 people opposite over. Ryan and Zoe sat on one side, and Vincent and I sat on the other side. The atmosphere dropped to freezing point, until the woman let out a sneer, which made my heart tremble. Vincent, is this your girlfriend? Can you stop ruining this little girl? The words are full of gunpowder. The words are almost condensed into real knives. Vincent beside me has had a face as cold as an ice sculpture since he sat down in the restaurant. And he is not to be outdone. What right do you have to interfere with my finding a partner? I'm not interfering. You can find whoever you want. It has nothing to do with me even if you find an 80-year-old woman. Ms. Yao. As an actor, I hope you can further refine your control of micro-expressions. You are obviously unhappy. Bah. Don't be shameless. Vincent. I tell you. Seeing that the verbal battle between the two is gradually heating up, I am somewhat worried and thinking about whether I should mediate. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ian enjoying the show happily. At our table, he is the only one who has been served, so he can cut the steak slowly while watching the show with relish. As if noticing me, he glanced at me and then lowered his head again. As if he is not familiar with me. This is the first time I have met him since I knew he had a girlfriend. Ryan cut the steak, lowered his eyes, and put the steak into his mouth. Chewing slowly. The verbal battle on the side seems to have nothing to do with him at all. His eyelashes are quite long, casting a dense shadow on his eyelids. I don't understand what the bitterness in my heart is. It wasn't until I suddenly felt something rubbing against my calf. The fabric of Ryan's trousers is slowly hooking onto my exposed skin. I looked at the person opposite in shock. But he was enjoying the steak as if nothing had happened. Obviously his trouser legs under the table are getting more and more pushy. A numb and strange feeling gradually spreads from the calf. I am wearing a slightly formal dress. The slit design makes this person more and more unscrupulous. I glared at him fiercely. And he finally raised his head. There was a faint smile on his lips. But the movement under the table still didn't stop. Zhangxi. Just as I was about to warn him aloud, the woman at the dining table beside me suddenly stood up. You are simply unreasonable. Sure enough. I can't even stand being in the same restaurant with you. I was just concentrating on the battle under the table with Ryan just now. And I didn't notice how these two people next to me started arguing. When I came to my senses, the woman had already walked out of the restaurant with her bag in big strides. Vincent sat in his seat, and was stunned for a few seconds. And then quickly got up and chased after him. Only Ryan and I are left. Staring at each other. He raised his eyebrows. And his leg under the table was also retracted. He seemed to have something to say to me and opened his mouth. I suddenly stood up. I remembered that I also have something urgent. I'll leave first. The cello's chant is still low and slow. My hurried steps even almost bumped into a waiter holding a tray. The unknown star outside the window is shining. I finally rush into the night. Then I gasp for breath. I didn't even eat the Michelin 3-star Wellington steak that Vincent said he would treat me to, and I didn't have to pay. I just ran away. I don't know where this road is. When I came, I took Vincent's car. Now, let alone a car. I can't find anyone. For this kind of restaurant located in a hilltop clubhouse. It's even difficult to get a taxi. I can only slowly walk down the mountain first. While regretting. I wonder what I am running for. Isn't it easy for Ryan to send me back? Why have I become so afraid to talk to him? Fortunately, the journey down the mountain is not long. The evening breeze is intertwined with the fragrance of wildflowers. The person following me is unhurried. I stopped suddenly. Looking back at him. Ryan didn't expect me to stop suddenly, and almost bumped into me. He sighed. I think that on the way home from school in the past, he often followed behind me like this. In front of me is an endless and vast road and row upon row of high-rise buildings. The setting sun sinks into the sparkling river. Passing by the motor vehicles crowded together during the evening rush hour. The evening wind is mixed with a melodious sense of tiredness. He bent the test paper into a circle and lightly tapped my forehead. Asked me if I would be sad if he was about to go abroad. But at that time, I mostly didn't understand the meaning of parting. Ryan, don't follow me anymore. I suddenly woke up from my memory and looked at him. He was stunned for a moment. Why? He twitched the corner of his mouth slightly. And the setting sun slowly set in his eyes. Why? Why? In this world, not everything can find a why. I walked quickly, praying that there would be a taxi on the road that I could take a ride in. But only the roaring sports cars of rich kids sped by. He still follows me. For a moment, I feel like my soul has left my body. The faint light in the distant mountains is a divine summons. I have nowhere to place my restless chest. The glow of the sky that has not yet fallen into twilight spreads. I ran, running without knowing where to go, and not knowing the purpose of doing so. Wearing high heels, I stumbled, the bag I was carrying and the skirt dragging on the ground. Everything seemed to be hindering my progress. There are always many things in life that people want to escape from. A mess entangles the wantonly growing desires. I staggered and panted, supporting my knees. He is still following me. Had enough running? Don't sprain your foot. He was about to reach out to me, and I slapped his hand away. Don't mind me. Behind him is the thoroughly red sunset glow. He raised his eyebrows slightly, and I suddenly sat down on the ground. It seems to be a small waterfront landscape located in the mountains. I mean, my skirt is wet. I hugged my knees, and he stood in front of me. The water flowed over his leather shoes. He called my name, and I suddenly splashed water at him. Don't bother me. Along his eyebrows and eyes. It slid down wetly. I felt inexplicably irritable, unwilling and lost. Can you stay away from me? Stay away from me. Why on earth did Ryan intrude into my life? Why do you have to follow me all the time? We are not from the same world. Can't you see it clearly? Why be my friend? Why take me to play? I have had enough of the torture about you, and I have had enough of myself. I buried my face in my arms. If my world is completely dark, then I probably can't see anything either. Hearing the sound of water, I felt myself shrouded in shadow. He probably squatted in front of me. When he touched me, I trembled. He grabbed my wrist and forcibly removed my hand. So I was caught off guard and looked into his eyes. His eyes were like the sincere red when the sunset sets. Serious and blatant. The birds in the mountains flapped their wings, and the water stirred up a series of rippling waves. There was silence. So I suddenly remembered the embarrassment after venting. My face flushed, and I wanted to withdraw my wrist from his palm. But he wouldn't let me. Zhangji. My lips and tongue were blocked. For no reason. My heart was beating like a drum. The man's eyelashes were very long. And when he kissed me, a dense shadow fell. He pushed his luck. 21. I was carrying high heels in my hand and was carried on his back. The setting sun on the mountain was very long. I was bored and counted how many clusters of his hair ends were messy. How much longer do we have to walk? He chuckled. Who told you to run around? My car is still parked on the top of the mountain. I felt the long-lasting heat on my cheeks little by little. Really? It's so shameful. Being confessed by such a familiar person. I feel that I can't even keep my face. Ryan. This is what you said. You like me. I made a faint voice like a mosquito on his back. Yes. Do you know that you like me? I know. The wild birds in the mountains kicked off the swaying branches and made a rustling sound all over the place. That's why I think I can't do anything about you. Yo. In fact, climbing the slope is already tiring. But he is still carrying me. Why did you find someone to pretend to be your girlfriend to stimulate me? I wrapped my arms around his neck tightly. So, was it stimulating? He weighed me up. You are so childish. Ryan. That day, Ryan told me many things I didn't know. For example, the quota for me to participate in the competition in junior high school should have been taken by someone who found connections. It was he who secretly snatched it back for me. For example, the person who put milk in my desk for a week in high school was him. For example, when I got close to other boys and he made a fuss, he was jealous. For example, the reason why he came to celebrate my birthday by helicopter that day was that he wanted to be the first person to say happy birthday to me. For example, he didn't know how to tell me that he liked me. I met Zoe when I was studying abroad. We are old acquaintances. That day, when she suddenly mentioned that I had a crush on you for so long, but didn't make a move. She said she would help me test you. Who knew that she was also trying to anger her director Gu? Vincent probably has the heart to kill me. So from the very beginning, it was all an act. Then I don't have to eat those 2 boxes. I pursed my lips and remembered the vow I made to him in the supermarket that day. Ryan sent me to my doorstep and rubbed my hair. Well, you don't have to. Because those 2 boxes have other uses. What? Before I could finish speaking, I suddenly stopped and my face started to heat up again. So the person in front of me laughed. What are you thinking? My forehead was tapped lightly by him. I mean, they can be used to blow up balloons. Do you understand? Who would use that kind of thing to blow up balloons? I pushed him out of the door and slammed the door shut. The moonlight outside the window just leaked into a corner of the window gap. It seemed that I heard my own heartbeat, which was a chaos that someone never knew. 23. There is one thing that Ryan doesn't know. In my senior year of high school, he suddenly announced that he was going abroad. When I heard the news, I spent a day in a daze. At that time, I felt the unwillingness of being tricked by someone, and even wanted to grab his collar and ask him why. Why did he suddenly say he was going abroad when he had clearly promised me to take the same school entrance exam as me? But, after all, I had no position to question him. I could only try to make my expression calm and indifferent, and try to make myself seem less concerned. So I still stayed by his side and watched him smile heartlessly. He even asked me with a smile, "I'm going abroad. Aren't you a bit reluctant?" I crumpled up the draft paper. Although it would be hearternecting when he mentioned it, I still threw it at him lightly. When you go to America, remember to buy me some things. At that time, I didn't even dare to ask if he would never come back. On the last day he left and came to class for the last time. Somehow, he started playing around with a group of boys during the break. The crowd was pushing and shoving. Right behind me. How many times had the pen in my hand repeated drawing formulas on the draft paper? His voice was mixed in the noisy crowd. Suddenly, someone sat down in the seat beside me. He was probably pushed to my position. A group of people gathered around and made a fuss with him. Pressed by people, he suddenly leaned against me. Early summer. Just the season when short sleeves are worn. The fabric on the back of the boy rubbed against my exposed arm. He leaned closer and closer, and I could even feel the scorching heat of his skin. I buried myself in doing my exercises. He just leaned on me like this, laughing and joking with those people. Clearly, it was the human voices that were noisy. And clearly it was the sikak loudly. But it was me who couldn't solve the exercises. And it was also me who heard my own heartbeat. After Ryan left, I still had to sprint for the college entrance examination. When I was young, I didn't understand the meaning of parting. So when the people around me left, I would be inexplicably in pain. I dreamed of him more than once, waking up from the setting sun at dusk. I saw the unsolved exercise in my hand. The content of the dream was, he turned around and grinned mischievously at me, asking me why I was looking at him all the time. And I, with red eyes, asked him why he had left me. Extra chapter: Vincent and Zoe's wedding was held amid the chirping of cicadas splashing in early summer. To some extent, Zoe is a very whimsical woman. Not only was their wedding not held on a grand scale, but only very familiar relatives and friends were invited. Even the venue was in their backyard. I opened the invitation. At that time, please prepare a talent show for each guest present as an after-dinner entertainment item for our wedding. Which wedding asks the guests to perform on stage. The bride and groom are just watching and having fun. Right? Anyway, all the people who arrived really prepared shows. Singing, dancing, magic, and even crosstalk. It was lively. It was not like a wedding, but rather like a gathering of a group of good friends. Even the food was a lot of self-service barbecue prepared in the yard. Fortunately, there was one normal wedding program. That is, throwing the hydrangea. I was originally waiting eagerly by the barbecue grill for the meat to sizzle and emit oil. Suddenly, their husky came and rubbed against me, pushed by the huge furry creature. I lost my balance and fell to the side. Ryan on my side, and put his arm around my waist. Then the hydrangea landed right in my arms. All the guests on the scene suddenly burst into a chorus of whistles and cheers. That guy Ryan actually accepted it gladly. Anyway, I silently turned around. The hand that he hooked around my waist still didn't loosen. And he breathed on my ear. Should we consider marriage? My future Mrs. Zhang? By the way, there is one last item in these two people's wedding. That is, all the guests present have to draw lots once. According to them, 2 lucky guests will be drawn. One will receive all the cash gifts from their wedding. One will help them clean up the wedding scene. Whose brilliant idea is this? Ah? I unfolded the paper in my hand. Ryan beside me said, "Oh? So, you see how coincidental it is." Ryan drew all the cash gifts. I drew cleaning up the scene. Until everyone left. I was holding a broom and staring at the messy scene. Really? Is there really a host who directly leaves the guests in the yard to clean up? Ryan laughed beside me. I just raised the broom and was about to hit him when I suddenly found that the top of the broom couldn't close. When I opened it, there were stacks of red banknotes tied in a circle. And there were words handwritten by Zoe. In my hometown. People who clean up the wedding scene will have full of peach blossoms in the coming year. If you have someone you love, you will definitely be harmonious and live happily ever after until old age. Full of happiness and continuous happy events.